Hi everyone, my name is Chris Carey, and this is Alex Kuros, live in person. Today we will be covering Laurie Manor, which is a multi-unit in Coronado. So if we go ahead and get started and go to slide 2, a bit about the property overview. The property is located at 1018 to 1028 Avenue in Coronado. It's right near the famous hotel, a couple blocks away. This is a multi-unit and a value-add strategy. So the current asking price is $6.25 million, and there's 18 units, 6 of which are studios, and 12 of which are 2-bed, 1-baths. So right now, with the asking price, the approximate price per unit is about $347,000. The total square feet are 10,350. So the price per square foot is 604. And the NOI at year 0 prior to value add is $201K, which gives us a going in cap rate of 3.2%. So if we go to the next slide, the property overview continued. Some additional details to talk about. There's 9 parking spaces, 11 storage units, and 2 on-site laundry units. As you can see in the pictures to the right, this is a layout of the property. So this is something that Alex and I noticed when we were visiting the property in Coronado. It seems to be like there's a different kind of design going on in Coronado versus a maybe more typical Normal Heights, North Park, University Heights, Hillcrest type of multi-unit, which is rectangular in shape. This is more of a horseshoe in design. You can see in the far right picture, and you have kind of like a center park area. And it's kind of different where all the units are looking into each other. And actually, if you look at the picture to the furthest to the right, just north of it, you can see a gray roof. That's another property that is the same type of design. And then on the bottom left-hand side, you can see kind of like a typical layout of the 2-bed, 1-bath, and then the studio units. So if we continue to the next slide, as we continue to talk about the property, some risks that we assessed. So first and foremost, as we mentioned, this is a value add property. So the biggest risk is the ability to terminate current leases. A lot of the leases are fairly low. There's a lease from 1993, or 1998 rather, that's still, or no, it's 1993, sorry. And it's a 2-bed, 1-bath, and its current price is $1,650. So there's a lot of current tenants that are paying definitely below market rate. And we were a little surprised too, because Coronado is obviously a very affluent and nice area, and I'll go over that in the market analysis. But yeah, the ability to be able to essentially terminate current leases is a huge risk. Additionally, the Bill 1482, so the California rent control bill that was passed by the governor recently, once we are able to terminate the current leases and then do our value add and rehab the property, this shouldn't be too big of a deal, because at that point we should be able to ask market price for our rent. And then, the year-over-year increases of call it 7 to 8% depending on the inflation in Coronado. That's not going to happen year over year. So it'd probably be more realistically 2 to 3%. But it still is a risk, and it's still a hurdle that needs to be dealt with and considered. Additional capital needed for value add beyond estimate. So right now for value add, we're estimating about $270,000 for all of the 18 units. So it's on average about $15,000 a unit. And kind of the breakdown there is we were looking at what it costs for a nice floor on a per square foot. It's $5. There's a little over 10,000 square feet, so it's a little over $50K for the floors. The kitchens were estimating it would be about $7,000 to $8,000 depending on appliances, and the bathroom should be about $5,000 a unit, and then just kind of miscellaneous paint, lighting, etc. kind of make up the difference. But obviously, if we go beyond that, that wouldn't be per our plan and per our pro forma, which we'll go over. Another property risk is climate change. So obviously, it's in Coronado. It's very close to the ocean. I don't think realistically this is a short-term risk. So, and by short-term, maybe in the next decade or two, but perhaps 2 decades from now, this can become more of a reality. And that can affect our discounted cash flow analysis and ultimately the value of the property going forward and the land. And then lastly, talking about the suppressed rents. So something that we noticed was even after the value add, the current agent listing the property, the rent seemed pretty low. So they were thinking the rent for a 2-bed, 1-bath would be around $2,400, and then a studio would be about $1,400. If we compare a 2-bed, 1-bath in Coronado in general, when I looked at data provided by Zillow, the average 2-bedroom rent per month in Coronado was almost $4,200, and in La Jolla it's about $3,250, and in Encinitas it's about $2,800. So it seems like the rents are a little on the low end. Now this is an older property, so even with a value add, we're not gonna be able to basically get like full, probably like potential prices, but it is a risk. Is the potential suppressed rents. So moving on to the next slide, talking about the market report. So what we did was we looked at Coronado versus San Diego. So the median household income in Coronado is about $100K. Population is a little over 24,000 people and about 7.6 thousand employees. If you see in the bottom chart, you see this is the median household income for San Diego as a whole, and then the Coronado community. Coronado's in blue, and one represents 2013, and 5 represents 2017. So we can see the 5-year trend of the median household income. So, obviously, probably comes to no surprise that Coronado is averaging higher than San Diego as a whole. $77,000 is currently the median household income in San Diego. But something that was kind of interesting that we noticed was the actual rate of household income gains in those past 5 years was actually higher for the San Diego community versus the Coronado community, which could be a good assessment for San Diego as a whole. But we thought that was kind of interesting. So then going on to the next slide, talking about comparables. What we did was we looked at Coronado, the property we've been talking about, on the furthest left, and then I used Hillcrest and Encinitas as 2 other kind of comparable properties. They're both already turnkey properties, so there's already value add that's been created, but you can kind of see some interesting data points. So first, right now, our cost per square foot, as I mentioned earlier, for the Coronado property is $604, and the average cost per square foot in Coronado, provided by Zillow data, is almost $980. So a lot of room for improvement in the value add. And then if we look at like La Jolla, price per square foot is about $780, and Encinitas is about $580. But going back to the comparables, so we have in Hillcrest, you can see the cost per square foot is about it's a little over 20% less at $504. The going in cap rate is obviously a lot higher, 4.9%. And then in Encinitas, this property was really high, but it's also very close to the ocean. So that Encinitas cost per square foot, Encinitas, for those who aren't very familiar, there's a coastal area that's west of the 101 and also west of the 5, and those are extremely high. And then if you're east of the 5, the prices are a lot less in comparison to the properties to the west of the 5 and the 101 especially. So this property in Encinitas is in a really good location. It's west of the 5, so that's why the cost per square foot is so much higher. But you can see the going in cap rate's not too far off from the Coronado one, and that kind of makes sense, right? Encinitas is like a very affluent kind of coastal community, just like Coronado. They kind of tailor to different demographics, but we thought that was an interesting comparison.